All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of Behavioral Health Matters, a Black History Month celebration. Today and every day that we can be together is a true gift. So I thank you again for your time. And if you're just joining us, welcome. My name is Taylor Bryan Turner. I'm the Assistant Regional Administrator at the Office of Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, otherwise known as SAMHSA, at HHS in New England. We are delighted you could be with us for the next hour as we continue our first Diversity Inclusion Project Showcase, an initiative that uplifts CBOs of color. These organizations are dedicated to substance use disorders and mental health, peer recovery, justice transformation, LGBTQIA+ equality, therapeutic services through arts, agriculture, and more. This work is imperative, and without this commitment, we could really be in harm's way. So thank you for that commitment. Yesterday, we heard from Acting Assistant Secretary Tom Cordair of SAMHSA, Connecticut Commissioner Miriam Delfman-Rittman, and Machisi Rankin of Rhode Island Cares to kick off the event and speak truth to power for mental health equality. We experienced the knowledge and passion woven into our communities by places like AFCAMP, the Health Education Center, Legendary Legacies, and the Indigo Arts Alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge you. Joining us are our federal partners, state agencies, CBOs, and philanthropic organizations, colleges, and universities. Our goal today is to highlight our community-based organizations and to learn from experts on the importance of investing in mental health. Explore BIPOC nonprofits who are committed to equality in behavioral health. And lastly, experience the impact that intentional partnerships can have on communities of color. We encourage you to join us in the chat box to welcome and provide words of affirmation. You may also share your interest in connecting with each other. I'm not terribly thrilled that we cannot be together for this inaugural event, but please type as you can to salute the achievements you will learn about today. And as you listen, we invite you to think about how we might redress the ways we interact with and nurture community. Can we grow and build together for a viable and equitable future in mental health? And if so, how do we progress? All right, today we will start with a quick overview of the Diversity Inclusion Project Showcase model. I really want to get to the showcase, so I'm going to fly through it pretty quickly. The full presentation will be in our post materials for your review, and replication is encouraged. What do they say? Imitation is the highest form of flattery, and when it benefits the community, it's all good, right? So let's begin. So when I started at SAMHSA just about a year ago, it'll be March, it'll be a year, I heard pretty directly from our community-based organizations, what is SAMHSA doing to increase diversity among grantees? What is SAMHSA doing about behavioral health equity in the region? So we can own it. The solution is to acknowledge that there is a problem, right? And then you can plan to do something about it. Once you listen, you convene. And that's what we're doing here today. OBHE said that SAMHSA hears from state colleagues and other stakeholders that state administrators want to do good. So help them to do it. And this is what we plan to do. Next slide, please. The mission for the Diversity Inclusion Project Showcase model is to create a safe space to cultivate strong partnerships for equitable and healthier communities. Provide diverse nonprofit organizations an opportunity to present their business focus and their population served, purpose and community impact to regional behavioral health and substance use disorder leadership. The purpose, the purpose is an effort to convene federal funds with nonprofit organizations. So we want to put nonprofit organizations and funders in the room together to cultivate those relationships. We can assemble historically marginalized populations with visible and viable entities in an effort to cultivate those partnerships. Next slide, please. As Maya Angelou said, we are only as blind as we want to be, right? When funding opportunities become available, we often visit the same places. We want to expand our network and get to know the communities who could benefit from our relationships. That way, when the funding becomes available, you have a wider network, right, to expand from. Next slide, please. The outcomes after a year. States will report out on successful relationships formed with nonprofit entities and funders. Increase diverse populations among community needs assessments, right? We want some diversity in those applications that come in. Implement data used from the pandemic to identify hotspots to secure funding. We have the data now that shows Black and brown people are dying at much faster rates than our white counterparts. Let's use that data to our advantage. Increase access to funding where businesses provide for underserved communities in the areas of behavioral health, prevention, treatment, and recovery. And create a space to cultivate those strong partnerships for equitable and healthier communities is what we're doing today. A dream would be on the dreaded grants.gov. I know it's not your favorite site for those CBOs out there, but if there was a marker to identify businesses that provide services to communities where 50% or more of the population is of color, you could view that application with a different lens and remember that you might need to provide some extra technical assistance or consultation there. As the commissioner said yesterday, if you want to know about the book, you ask the author. It would be great to go into community and get to know who we're serving. Next slide, please. Well, I went through that rather quickly because I am excited to get to our guest speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Renee Boynton Jarrett, who will provide opening remarks. Renee is a pediatrician social epidemiologist and an associate professor at Boston Medical Center and Boston University School of Medicine. She is the founding director of the Vital Village Network. Vital Village uses, a trauma-informed lens to improve community capacity to promote child well-being in Boston and support coalitions nationally through the NOW Forum. Her scholarship has focused on early life adversities as life course social determinants of health. We have only just recently met, and she is such a warm and devoted person. Please welcome Dr. Renee Boynton.
Thank you so much. I am honored to join you all today for this inaugural Behavioral Health Matters Black History Month series, Diversity and Inclusion Projects Showcase. I would like to begin by expressing gratitude and appreciation for the organizers and the hosts, especially Taylor Bryan Turner, my co-presenters today, and all of you who made the choice to show up today. As you know, during this coronavirus pandemic, we need all hands, all hearts, and all minds on deck. And so I love being in community with you all in a different way during this pandemic. And I'd like to start with community, because for me, it was my beloved preschool community that led me into pediatrics and Boston Medical Center and tradition of service as an anchor for community health. Boston Medical Center recognized early on that context matters. Every child's health and well-being is strongly influenced by the families and the communities in which they grow. We like to say it takes a village to raise a child. What we often do not say is it also takes a village to fail to protect and invest in a child's potential. Structural inequities are the root of so many adversities that harm the developing brains and bodies of children. So transforming outcomes requires changing systems. We could pick any number of statistics. In Massachusetts, 1 in 9 children are food insecure. 25,000 public school students are homeless. The degree of untreated mental health needs is climbing at an escalated rate during this pandemic. Not surprisingly, all of these patterns worsen in neighborhoods with fewer economic resources and opportunity structures that truly invest in a child's well-being. It's not that we don't know how to provide exceptional healthcare or deliver high quality learning experiences. The problem is that medical practitioners, educators, social service providers, community organizers are typically working in silos, and it makes it impossible to address systemic factors that undermine all of our well-intentioned efforts. Particularly structural racism is not something that anyone can address through a silo. So a few of us at Boston Medical Center began to ask a basic question. What would it look like for every child to have an opportunity to thrive in a healthy community? Vital Village Networks grew out of these conversations. We took the bold step to recognize and invest in the leadership capacities of our community residents and to strengthen connections across sectors and silos. Vital Village Networks is a collaborative that builds the capacity, transformative capacity of communities to improve the well-being of children and families through collaboration, research, data sharing, training, and advocacy. Think about it. In the United States, $3.6 trillion was spent on healthcare in 2019. But what science tells us contributes most to health is where we live, work, play, and learn. Here's how we change systems at Vital Village. It really starts with belonging. We take a collaborative approach to recognizing what is already working within communities, what community leadership has already uncovered, and we work to co-create solutions to help scale and expand those existing innovations. Next, we promote collective learning through partnerships, shared data that strengthens accountability, particularly around measuring data about structural racism and evaluating data by race ethnicity to uncover inequities. As the saying goes, what gets measured gets done. If we do not use an equity-informed and strengths-based lens when looking at data, we simply cannot build upon the strengths and wisdom of communities of color or address deep-seated inequities. Having the facts about access to food, social injustice, racial injustice, school readiness, and enrollment allows us to track progress over time. Finally, we convene networks designed to enable long-standing cross-sector engagement. Through these networks, community leaders share resources and innovations that help drive systems-level change. The result is nothing less than transformative capacity building for individuals, families, and communities, and healthier outcomes for children. But of course, none of this happens overnight. It takes a village of activities working together for systems change. Here's how. If you think of just a few examples, we have Giselle Cabrera, who joined our fellowship in community advocacy and leadership to become an advocate for special needs education for her son, the person she wished she had had to help her with her own children. She was paired with a mentor, connected to a partner organization, and became a leader for statewide bilingual parent trainings. Melody Lopez Cunningham joined our breastfeeding coalition because she wanted to reverse inequitable practices around maternal health and child health outcomes, particularly around mental health care for women of color. She expanded her network through skills and workshops, volunteering and mentoring. She's a social entrepreneur, started her own business. She's a doula and provides lactation support to new parents. She is leading the change. John King Jr. wanted to help parents who face child custody conflicts. Through our social justice mediation program, he found the tools and the support he needed to launch a family mediation business serving Boston's family court, helping to lessen the stressors that parents experience and centering the focus on the child. Our public school teachers, such as Jeffrey Cipriani, wanted to address the impact of trauma on his students' learning. He participated in our Strive training program, supportive trauma interventions for educators, and now he supports trauma-sensitive trainings for his colleagues. During this pandemic, we have reached nearly 1,000 early care and education providers with our trauma-informed practice. The doors are open and hearts and minds are open to incorporating this to better serve children. What these leaders all have in common is a lifetime of wisdom matched by a desire to serve and share their knowledge. Vital Village's role is to provide advanced skills, tools, connections, and a platform for community leadership. So we move beyond service delivery to building sustainable, transformative capacity. We're a small Boston-based network, but we're achieving impact on a local and national scale. Organizations across New England and around the country are seeking to emulate our model. We've worked in more than 15 states and over a dozen communities. We've served over 3,000 children in the last year alone, and independent evaluations show that our model works. Over 90% report advanced trauma understanding and social emotional learning practices, leadership development, funding, and data collaboration. Over an 18-month learning period for national coalitions, they reported increased racial equity practices by 65 to 75%. Over the past 7 years, we've raised and invested over $1 million for community innovation, microgrants, collaborative learning, participatory budgeting, and community champion leadership. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on the communities we serve and our partners, many of whom are essential workers. Disproportionate impact is to say the least. This makes our work even more vital. To thrive through a crisis like COVID-19, we need resilient villages, that is, socially connected while physically distanced. Partnering with Vital Village is the natural next step for many hospital systems like Boston Medical Center that are already prescribing healthy food, supporting affordable housing. Together, we can address community health issues that can't be treated in a clinic. The cost of our proactive approach is less than $400 a year for a family. In comparison to the financial reality, our model's an excellent return on investment. You know, the most abundant and vital resource in any community are the people. We'll never have enough doctors or clinics, emergency rooms or Band-Aids, but if we can develop individuals, if we can connect institutions, if we can recognize the wisdom and leadership of the neighborhood and the neighborhood leaders, we won't need as many of those things. For those who have and continue to experience daily adversities, due to racial injustice, due to this pandemic, and a variety of factors, responding with empathy is insufficient. We must respond with dignity. Far too long, we've praised the resilient child, the child that made it through hardships. But what does childhood look like in a just society? Trauma is replaced with thriving because places are equitable and resilient. So I invite you to Vital Village Networks. I invite collaboration from organizations and people who want to create resilient places, flourishing, equitable communities where all children can thrive. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been my honor to speak with you all.
How wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is our pleasure to meet you, and congratulations on all your accomplishments and all that will follow. I like to say community is the opposite of isolation, and you definitely spoke to that. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our MC for today, SAMHSA's very own Dr. Mary Rory, Director of the Office of Behavioral Health Equity, who will be today's moderator. Mary is a public health epidemiologist who focuses on infectious and chronic diseases. She is also an adjunct professor at the Catholic University of America. Her ultimate goal is to become an influential champion of eliminating health disparities by identifying and implementing data-driven best practices that promote health equity and wellness. It is my pleasure to turn the floor over to Mary.
I'm all excited about life, just talking and sharing and saying wonderful things about you all. Thank you, Taylor, for that wonderful introductions. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to be here for round two, day two. Day one was phenomenal. Hopefully you'll be able to see the recording if you missed it. Day two is going to go even nicer. What we're going to do is stick to the time that you all have. Taylor, everyone has 5 minutes, correct? Yes, okay. And I will be timing you all, and I will gently, don't take it personally, I will gently cut you off and say we're now transitioning to the next speaker. So bear with me. You all are phenomenal. I'm not going to tell you much about what we are and what we do. I put it in the chat box so that you all can have more time to say what you need to say, because what you have to say matters. Nothing else in this moment matters but what you all have to share with us. I want you also to make sure you put your web links in the chat box so the network can be explosive and can continue, because without you, we're nothing. All right, so now let's get started. So first up, we have Dennis. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you, Mary. First, I want to say that I'm just tickled to be here to speak to everybody at this event. I don't know if anybody ever gets that feeling of saying to themselves, how did I get here? Because I'm just a guy who started out young using illegal substances and finding my way throughout the legal system, getting with the arrests and so on. Spent a lot of years using from coast to coast, California to Rhode Island and New York. But now I find myself working in this field. When I think about it, when I was requiring assistance with my substance use disorder, I didn't come across many people who looked like me in the process. So I work for this small nonprofit organization called Project Weber Renew. We're located out of Providence, Rhode Island. I've managed to gain the title of Overdose Prevention Program Director. And I think I got that title because I must have shown a desire, a passion to make a difference with people who have gone through a lot of the same difficulties throughout their lives that I have, and especially the Black and brown people. When I was actively using, and I've been in recovery now for 7 years, when I was actively using, there was no doubt in my mind that people of color were getting dealt different cards than white affluent individuals. There's just no doubt about it. So now, as I work here in Rhode Island with Project Weber Renew, we do a lot of street outreach. We're a harm reduction model, which means that we meet people where they're at. There's no judgment, no stigma. We just want to see people stay alive until they get to the point that they want to get into recovery. I'm glad to say that on our staff, Most of our outreach team, all of our outreach team we're peers. Some of us, like myself, are certified peer recovery specialists and certified community health workers. But we're peers, we're Black and brown and LGBTQ individuals, just out here trying to make a difference, meeting people. I've heard the term used, boots on the ground. Yes, right. Yeah, we go to the places where a lot of other organizations won't go to. We're going into the encampments. We're going into abandoned buildings. We're out there, boots on the ground, and providing harm reduction services. Things such as, of course, here in our state, as probably in most of you who are joining us, the states are, the opioid overdose epidemic is just killing too many of our people. And the data tells us that fentanyl now finding its way into other drugs such as crack cocaine and methamphetamine, it's taking a strong toll on our Black and brown communities. The data tells us that the death rates for minorities is climbing, and as far as statistically speaking, at a greater rate than with the white individuals in our state. Because I want to try to honor the 5 minutes. It can be difficult at times, no doubt about it. But working here for Project Weber Renew, doing the work that we do, connecting with the city and the state. I wanted a quick story about when I was asked to do a video for the Rhode Island Department of Health. It was a very popular video. I was talking to people in something called the Governor's Overdose Prevention Task Force. Our governor at the time, Governor Raimondo, started this task force because of the opioid epidemic. So I went to this summit where there must have been over 200 people in the room. And I was one of the individuals featured on this video. Well, I got to tell you, I was so distracted by the fact that I was the only Black man in the room. The only Black man in the room. And here I am on they're doing my video. And I can't tell you how, what's the word, how tokenized I felt. It was a horrible feeling. I couldn't even enjoy the video. I was just looking around and seeing only Black men in the room. Anyways, as a result of that, we talked to some people in the state, and through our organization, myself and another fellow employee, we co-chair something called the Racial Equity Working Group. So we became a part of that Governor's Overdose Prevention Task Force with a working group to try to help the members of the task force view things through a racial lens. And I'm really proud of that, to be a part of the Racial Equity Working Group as part of the task force. But we have so much more work to be done.
We sure do, Dennis.
There we go.
And I just want to thank you. I am encouraged and on fire. You are the ultimate change agent. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Janelle, you're up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janelle Posey Green. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in New London County, Connecticut. Last year, I created the BIPOC Mental Health and Wellness Initiative in March 2020 as a response to the double pandemic, COVID-19 and racism. People from the communities that I belong were reaching out to me to find mental health resources because they were struggling with the constant changes that came from COVID-19 pandemic. While having to shelter in place, they were exposed to videos that showed people that looked just like them being killed. This prompted me to reach out to my BIPOC colleagues and fellow healers and ask, would you hold space for people in our community through a Zoom forum? The goal was to allow people to have a safe space to express what they are feeling and get some information about where to seek continued support if they chose to. The platform was so well received, we've been able to keep up the momentum and provide free discussion and healing forums for people of color. What makes this cohort of healers holding the platform so special is we have 31 healers. They're 100% a part of the BIPOC community. We are also a collective of different specializations and healing practitioners. We believe that there is no one way to heal the community that we belong to, and we can all answer the call and contribute. The healers on this team consist of mental health professionals, substance counselors, APRNs, doctors, doulas, midwives, spiritual practitioners, sound healers, yoga instructors, you name it. Our healing forums provide a multitude of different healing practices, and we aim to target the entire BIPOC community. We're not leaving anybody behind. We have tried to not only identify topics that are meaningful, but also beneficial to the BIPOC community. Now, we also expose them to holistic and healing alternative practices that they may otherwise not be able to get exposure to. Since last March, we have held 53 forums and have covered topics such as healing racial trauma for Black men, addiction, abuse, stages of change, discussing jail diversion and social justice, embracing neurodiversity, special needs in the Black community, African spirituality, healing approach to mental health, LGBTQI Black history, exploring and healing internal racism, misogynoir and mental health, intergenerational trauma, and Black mental wellness education forums for our white allies. Presently, we are working to provide at least 4 minimum topics a month that could be beneficial and enlightening to our community. We provide monthly calendars on Facebook and create an event page for each forum to provide awareness of the upcoming events. According to the data provided by Facebook, the initiative page for admins, we have reached over 40,000 people since March of 2020. We have reached 11,000 in the last 90 days, and this week alone, we've reached 7,000 individuals. We are a collective of BIPOC professionals that have made a commitment to collaborate for educating and supporting our underserved BIPOC communities. With the exposure from the news and us cross-collaborating with other community organizations, we are growing. With that growth comes new ideas and a new vision. And we would like to meet the needs of our BIPOC community in different ways. And with supportive funding, we will turn ourselves into a nonprofit organization. All the research and time that goes into creating our forums, we would like to provide training to our colleagues with the ability to provide CEUs. Since we're healers from all parts of Connecticut, we would like to provide community events free to the BIPOC community on a local level. All individuals involved in the BIPOC initiative have full-time jobs and families. One area that the funding would really be helpful is getting an administrative assistant or hiring a virtual one. With funding, we'd also be able to create a landing space and a website so people can get support and tips and even different directories to be able to find BIPOC providers within our state if they wanted it. We actually already have one and it's on a Google Doc, but we'd like to trade the Google Doc to creating an online format. Even though we are growing, our mission remains the same. And with supportive funding, we could continue to make this happen.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Janelle. That was outstanding. The beautiful music made me think we all need to wake up if we're asleep. Thank you so much for that powerful message. All right, April, you're up. And while you're getting up, April, I want to say this is our Pause for a Partner segment of our program, and it's designed to acquaint us all with a few of our partners on this work. Okay. All right, April and Raven. Raven, you're equally special. So I'm sorry, I'm old. I didn't see your name at the bottom, but you are equally important. So please share. Thank you. April, I can't hear you. I love your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Sorry. Thank you,
No
Mary,
worries.
and to Taylor Bryan Turner as well for the invitation to participate here in the SAMHSA Diversity Inclusion Projects Showcase. We feel really privileged to have the opportunity to speak with you and all the Region 1 community agencies. I'm from Vibrant Emotional Health. My name is April Naturel. And we are working there. We used to be called the Mental Health Association New York City, and we continue to function as a statewide mental health association does, but we began offering national services in the wake of 9/11, and so we've expanded since that time to be at the forefront of promoting emotional well-being for everyone. We work every single day to help save lives and assist people to get mental health care anytime, anywhere, and in any way that works for them. We offer services in person, on the phone, via text and chat. We're a nationally recognized leader in disaster mental health and crisis intervention, as we've launched the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in 2004 with SAMHSA funding and support, and then added the Disaster Distress Helpline. And we continue to administer both of those lines with another of our sub-networks, the Veterans Crisis Line, which we partner with the VA to support in working with the veteran population. On our Lifeline, we currently get about 5,000 calls a day and about 200 on the disaster line. The veteran line runs about 2,000 a day. We've seen these support services work, and we are unwavering in our belief that everyone, every single person in every community can achieve emotional wellness with access to the right care and support. So as leaders and advocates and educators, we have been continuing to raise awareness and offering support to people who are struggling. We do a lot of education and advocacy work that shifts policy and public opinion so that mental well-being is becoming a social responsibility and is treated with the importance it deserves, rather than the stigma that's been attached to it for so long and the inequity in the treatment and access across the country. Currently, we're working with SAMHSA to plan how to implement 988, the new congressionally approved telephone access to behavioral health emergency response care. We've implemented statewide 988 grants and are beginning the planning process. This is a tremendous effort and a great opportunity to change the way mental health access to care happens in our country. Advancing access will also allow for more dignity and respect for everyone, more inclusivity and representation from the BIPOC community, everyone who needs these services. We are trying to change the culture and the narrative so that individuals and families can achieve mental health and emotional well-being, to change the system for good for everyone. I'm going to turn over my time and ask our project coordinator, Raven Blue, to talk about our newest initiative. Raven.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. In 2019, Vibrant Emotional Health joined with the Disaster Psychiatry Outreach, a dynamic response agency that has been doing this work with physician volunteers since before 9/11. We merged to create the Crisis Emotional Care Team, which is a cadre of volunteer professionals who will be deployed to provide emotional and mental health support to individuals, communities, and even private organizations recovering from disasters and crisis. We are currently developing this cadre and are in the midst of intensive outreach to healthcare organizations, universities, and disaster relief organizations like SAMHSA's Crisis Counseling Assistance and Training Program, the Medical Reserve Corps, and the local VOADs. Including the interfaith-based groups, we are already partnering with the National Disaster Interfaith Network. As we know, so many people go to their faith-based communities, especially in the acute and immediate aftermath of a crisis. So we are looking to build partnerships and spread the word about our new initiative, and we would so appreciate any opportunities to speak with you who are representatives of the response group here in Region 1. We are also working to increase our diversity and inclusion efforts and are looking to add members of the BIPOC community as part of our national volunteer cadre and our advisory committee. We would appreciate any referrals to the cadre of Indigenous responders and responders who are people of color or represent the LGBTQ+ groups. For more information, you can visit us at vibrant.org/CECT. I'll put the link in the chat box, and I'll also include my email for anybody who has any further questions about our new program. Thank you so much for having us.
Bravo, Raven and April. Now, Raven, if I gave you a blank check, what would you do with it?
I'm not even sure.
To change the face of mental health, substance use disorder, what would you do with it?
I mean, at this point, there's a lot that needs to happen. The last 4 years has taught us anything like change has to come, and we have to be the ones to voice that. So, I mean, any kind of assistance to kind of get that message out and, make it more public and more visible, I think that would be great.
Thank you so much. You were fabulous. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving right along. Maria, you're up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maria Restrepo Toro, and I am the co-director of the New England Mental Health ETC. It is our pleasure to be here today, being partnering with SAMHSA, with the DIPS initiative, and being part of this. We are definitely a community partner when it comes to the BIPOC community's efforts. So the New England Mental Health ETC, the director is Dr. Larry Davidson, and we have a team that's actually with us here today, both Dana, Ingrid, and Martha. We all work together at the Yale Program on Recovery and Community Health, and we are set up to provide training, free training and technical assistance for the entire region. And really, as Taylor said at the beginning, we own this very much at heart, and we're here funded by SAMHSA to support this mission of really the unmet needs of mental health throughout the region. So that is our mission. We have two fabulous partners. We are partnered with the C4 Center for Social Innovation and Harvard Department of Psychiatry, and we bring to the region training and technical assistance around evidence-based practices. In addition to this important mission in the region, we also talk about resilience and recovery. And I think that's very timely for what we're talking about here today and for this wonderful event that's being put by SAMHSA's Region 1, regional administrators. So we, as the center from day one, in addition to the principles of recovery and oriented and resilience, we have been committed because the urgency is now to address the needs of BIPOC communities. So in order to achieve that mission, we are doing a strategic initiative that we call Better Together, because this is something for us to do all together with all of you here today and with anybody else that's not out there receiving this kind of, and we do have that ability to support that initiative. We work in school mental health. We also have a wellness supplement that we are addressing. We're going to be addressing BIPOC communities and community colleges around this issue of mental health. So there is a very important agency. And the way that we're going to be partnering with all of you, hopefully, is we're going to be providing additional training and technical assistance, again, free additional technical assistance around something we call REACH. REACH is our organizational change learning community. As some of you have said, this is about supporting each other, it's about collaborative learning, and it is about a participatory process. That's what the Mental Health TTC is all about. So we are here to invite you to continue this journey with us. In addition to the DIPS initiative funded by SAMHSA, we are your partners in the region. We want you to reach out to us, and we're here to work with you. And we are hoping to engage very actively, because this is our commitment to all of you, is that we are intentionally wanting to build relationships with you. We want to be able to use and disseminate the process and the products that we develop in many languages. We have a Latino initiative, we have a Native American initiative. As I said, we have the college initiative. So we are here for you, and we are here to provide, and whether it's in providing general information, doing webinars or all kinds of training as assistance, and doing more intense learning communities as we're proposing. So I think you will find our website, and we are delighted to be part of this event. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you for being an authentic game changer. Now, at this point, I believe I'm supposed to be turning back over to Taylor, but before I turn over to Taylor to do the showcase, the rest of it, I want to say to you all, together we can get there together. Taylor, thank you so much. You're up. Taylor, I'm going to keep on going. Look, I'm excited about this job. I'll just keep going. Thalia, you're up. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Thalia Palacios. My pronouns are they, them, L, and I am the Director of Mental and Social Transformation at Life in My Days. We're based in Connecticut, but we would like to think of ourselves as an international organization. We try to help wherever we can, whenever we can. I'm 21 years old, so I'm the youngest director in our organization's history. Life in My Days is a peer, BIPOC, and immigrant-led 501c3 nonprofit, and we support communities and individuals on their journeys for self-actualization, starting difficult conversations, building safe spaces, and ultimately transforming communities. We prioritize lived experiences to prevent things like, jumping onto the mainstream or tokenization. I am a bisexual, transgender, non-binary, neurodivergent Afro-Latinx person. And the reason why I listed all of my identities is because I specialize in programs that are made to programs that we develop that are made to center those identities. And that's what we prioritize at Life in My Days, is just making sure that Black people teach Black programs, Latinx people teach Latinx programs, transgender people teach transgender programs. We specialize in mutual aid, transformative justice, youth empowerment, LGBTQ+ and anti-racism competency or education trainings. We've done some for a few therapy groups, one out in Wisconsin very recently. We do art events like open mics, art galleries, community discussions, and even some direct actions when we can. I am actually in the process of designing a youth program that would be 12 weeks. The first 6 weeks would be discussion based, just really, I guess, like sort of a support group, but I'm not a therapist. So it's really just, us hanging out together and having a safe space, really. And I want the kids to sort of direct the program. Like we all get together on the first day, introduce each other, and I ask, what do you want to learn within this space, instead of creating a curriculum for them that they kind of just have to go along with. So yeah, that's, we want to do more programs like that, but we do need funding and partnerships in order to make that possible. We have a few events coming up soon. We have on the 27th, Malcolm X open mic to honor Malcolm X and Black History Month. We also have on the 28th, Black Liberation Community Conversation with one of our mutual aid directors leading. A few art galleries as well, including one on the Trans Day of Visibility on March 31st. And we want to just keep doing stuff like this, make sure that people feel seen, and make sure that the discussions that need to be had are being had in safe spaces. So yeah, I hope that you all, we could all work together in some way, shape, or form. I can send our website, my email as well. And also I just included Venmo and PayPal. If anyone is willing to donate, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate being here and y'all having me. Thanks.
Well, bravo, Thalia. 21 years old. I know that's right. Love your wisdom. And we are all so grateful, and we hope that the world can be a better place because of people like yourself. Bravo. That was outstanding. Okay, Caribou, you're up. Thank you. You're on mute. I've been guilty of it all day, so no worries. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that. All right. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I wear many hats. I work as a community outreach worker with the Association of Africans Living in Vermont. I'm also an affiliate with the Clemons Family Farm. And then I am me, Kerubo the artist. So as you may know, well, I live in Vermont, if I may begin with that. And Vermont is a white state. All its entities, all its constructs, all its institutions, and even clinicians, majority of them are white. So picture refugees trying to assimilate in such a culture. There are barriers everywhere you turn. There's the public transportation, there's the limited job market, there's facing discrimination. All these things impact the way the refugee communities adjust and find belonging in a new home. So what I came to understand or came to see was that both sides need help. Both the communities of the refugees and anyone who's trying to provide service. There needs to be understanding, there needs to be humility in understanding their overtures, the nuances, and the traditional ways of life, their beliefs, their attitudes. All this is a two-way function. The other thing that I do with the Association of Africans Living in Vermont is that I head a program of women who are victims of domestic violence and who have suffered violence sexually as a tool of war. All these groups need understanding. And my way of using my art to heal them is through my music. Also, I'm getting help from the Clemons Family Farm, who provides a sense of place for us African Americans and Africans diaspora, who are a minority in this big white Vermont state. And we bring in our arts and our culture and history, and she helps, they help place us to other settings where we can showcase our art. So carrying on to, I'm speaking quickly so that I can bunch all these things up in one little space. As a jazz Afro musician, my music has been focused on helping people overcome their challenges by providing hope. 5 years ago, I suffered an aneurysm and I almost died. And while I was recovering, I believe God brought me back absolutely 100% because I had lost my voice. I could not walk, I could not speak. That's the one thing that kept pushing me on, is that I had to use my voice, because once I got it back, I repurposed my messaging through my music to help others heal. The communities I work for, that's the music I write. I write for them. I write their experiences. I highlight things that are difficult to talk about. I highlight other discriminatory issues. So I am an activist, a social worker, all that bunched up in one. So here I am today carrying that one flag bunched up together so that I can just show you all that I'm with you, me, the African, the Kenyan, who had to learn the nuances of the communities I work for, had to learn the nuances of the white folk and try to survive. We're all here trying to survive. So I founded my own LLC, Kerubo Music Productions, and it's a place where the youth within the communities come hang out at my house. They create music. They get to practice their language, which can become easily distinct because they're a minority. And when they go to school, guess what? they're not speaking in Swahili, they're speaking English. And it's very easy to lose your language. So I want them to hold on to their culture. I want to be proud of their culture. I want them to, you know, all those tenets that make them who they are. I help within the Vermont and other entities like the Clemons Family Farm. We're all working together to do this. So before I go on, I have a video that I did recently, which is which I found I had to do because the community here were resistant to the vaccine. They were more afraid of the vaccine than they were of the virus. A lot of history goes into that. There were myths, superstitions, strong beliefs, and given what happened to them, being a colony of Europeans and having the big pharmacia come and take advantage of them, they did not want to use the vaccine. So I wrote that song and used people within the community that they know, familiar with, leaders, myself, showing them that it's okay to use the vaccine. So I'm going to invite
Yeah,
whoever
we're
is
going to
sharing.
make sure we play it right now. Ingrid, if you can help us, thank you.
Sure.
Right, and everybody bear with us. I know if you got to go, just hang in there. We're gonna keep this going. Thank you. We can't hear it, Ingrid.
Kwa hofu kwa muda mrefu, milipuko ya korona, vifo kila dakika, epikoni vikundi, barakoa, futi sita kadhalika. Najibu lipo wapi? Ajuaye ni Mola pekee. Tunaweza kumaliza janga hili kwa chanjo. Okoa maisha yako kwa chanjo. Tunaweza kumaliza janga hili kwa chanjo. Okoa maisha. Mola katumba, katupa akili na mali. Wengine uhubiri, ualimu, usayansi. Tunapaswa kuchangia ubora wa maisha. Lakini mwishowe, uchaguo ni wako pekee. Tunaweza kumaliza janga hili kwa chanjo. Oh, yakinge maisha kwa chanjo. Tunaweza kukinga familia kwa chanjo. Okoa maisha. Wataalamu wamenena, kasema chanjo ni bora, lakini kuna watu kazi yao ni ubishi. Jamani, korona inatutosha. Tunaweza kumaliza janga hili kwa chanjo. Wakati mwingine sisi huwa wavivu, wazembe kutimiza yaliyo muhimu. Ingawaje tunajua ni kifo na kupona, tunapaswa kuyajali masilahi ya watu. Hatimaye chanjo tufaidi sote. Chaguo ni wetu, chagua maisha. Tuungane pamoja, tumalize korona.
Okay, and so we're hoping you all can catch the rest of it when you get a moment. Thank you so much, Caribou. God kept you here so that you could be the ultimate multitasker. Thank you so much. Bravo. Now we're almost done. We got Michelle, you're up next, and then we'll have Mavis, and then we'll turn it back over to Taylor. Thank you all so much for hanging in past the time. That's a lot, but it's worth it. Thank you. Michelle?
Kapatash, thank you, Mary. So we kisak no tasawis Michelle and Kapatash to Taylor. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle, and I just want to say thank you to Taylor and the team for putting this together. I'm the executive director of the Health Education Center, which is one of the area health education centers of Connecticut. And our mission and our goal is to recruit, train, and retain health professionals, right, from all different backgrounds and diverse communities. And we want to make sure that the healthcare workforce actually reflects the communities that it serves. And so we do that in two pathways, right? So the existing grown people, right? And we don't want to just focus on one or two minority groups. In fact, in a recent conversation, we said, let's shy away from the minority, right? We're right into the inclusion of the global majority. So we say 3 steps, right? Recruit, train, and retain. Wash and repeat. So first, recruiting is prioritizing those efforts to make sure that our talent pool is diverse, right? When hiring, making sure that we, when we're working towards racial equity, that we use those 3 Ps, right? Like hiring practices, you're using your purchase power and philanthropy, right? How many people of color are being hired? Looking at those numbers. And are we using our purchasing power to make sure that the vendors and the consultants that we use come from diverse groups and making that effort? And then obviously we can't do anything without a couple dollars. So what amount of philanthropy is being extended to those communities of color? As Melody Hobson said in some of her work, math has no opinion, right? So we need to start taking a look at those numbers and seeing if what our money is reflecting the commitment to that work, right? And that's why we're all here today, make sure that we share the resources and then targeting those that want to help our different communities. Second step, train. And that's where the Health Education Center really specializes in making sure that training activities and learning experiences really support those diverse teams that we say we all want and need, right? So we administer some community-based experiential trainings, right? We call them the IPE program, the interprofessional education programs. And we coordinate health clinics and their workers and health students, right? And from all different fields in the workforce, the health workforce, and to working together to make sure that they're really serving the patient's needs. And then helping, so we can help your organization and other organizations adopt that curriculum and set up that model, right? Depending on which communities we need to focus on. And we're also one of the only centers in the state of Connecticut that has the approved community health worker training, as well as medical interpreter training, where a lot of our individuals who do not speak English as their first language, they still need to have access to behavioral health care and need to use medical interpreters that are trained professionals and also know the nuances of the different cultural interpretations and nuances, right? So we got to partner on that and make sure that these training opportunities really help drive performance outcomes. And then the third is retaining folks, right? We get them in, we train them up, and we have to continue supporting that professional growth. So we need to engage our teams, offer coaching, and then set up mentoring, whether it's informal or formal, and making sure that we're giving the folks the tools to succeed, right? If we want to address systemic racism, we have to create those safe spaces where BIPOC folks or that global majority feel supported. So I know in interest of time, we want to make sure that you all beyond today, and hopefully, we have more of these and you also implement this model that has been established, but also looking in the chat box and afterwards, some upcoming events and learning opportunities. Join the NED virtual roundtables, right? Or the Office of Behavioral Health Equity. I know Miss Mary is very humble and getting in going, but they have webinar series to start from Grant 101 all the way up to the most seasoned. Everyone can learn, right? And so those are the opportunities, or the center's learning communities and BIPOC initiatives. So just making sure that we don't just get inspired today at every level, but moving beyond this, having these on a regular basis, doing it in your own communities, in your own networks and systems, and then also kind of continuing that learning process. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you so much for giving us a shout out. I put us in the chat box, so I hope everybody will copy that link. Michelle, I also challenge you to go lower. I like middle school, but what about elementary school?
Well,
Keep that in mind.
we are always on board. So if you would like to talk about that blank
Yes,
check,
I do.
we
I
asked
do.
for April and Raymond, we will
There we
make
go.
that happen.
All right. Mavis, you're up. Last but not least. All right, you're up. Thank you so much for hanging in there. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. You are light. And to you, Taylor, for your vision for DIPS. This has been an amazing experience. SAMHSA is very fortunate to have you. And thank you to all of the individuals that were part of making this happen behind the scenes. To my fellow presenters, you are necessary and just as important, prepared for this moment, for a time such as this. You all are the rainbow that Dr. Maya Angelou spoke of. So I am the Executive Director for the Center for Health and Justice Transformation. We were formerly known as the Center for Prisoner Health and Human Rights. We are located in Providence, Rhode Island, and we are part of the Miriam Hospital. And the work that we do is we seek to advance health equity for the justice involved. And we also co-host the Center for Biomedical Research Excellence on Opioids and Overdose. Our site is in the chat, or will be in the chat if you want to know more. I wanted to take the balance of the time that I have to share a little bit about myself. One of the things I've learned is that with trust, there is no engagement. And we can't begin to transform systems and impact lives when there is mistrust. And so you all fill in this space is caused by the gaps in trust by our very system. So thank you. I'm first generation born in America, Brooklyn, New York to be exact. But my folks are from Ghana, West Africa. And in the spirit of our traditions and our agreements of working together that impart our lifestyle and economics, I share my story for the gift of you all sharing your experiences and your work. So I came to this work really through my big sister, who I have the permission to share her and our family story. Like many BIPOC girls with the additional intersection as children of immigrants, we were to be seen and not heard, to be good girls and to stay in a child's place. Thus, after years of being repeatedly raped, my sister and me sodomized by a person known to our family, we were ultimately rendered voiceless. And attempts to seek help outside of our home, whether that be through teachers, counselors that did not look like us, didn't understand the intersectionality of our lives, and our inability to speak up and speak out. Truly the medical dilemma, the medical physical dilemma of being Black and female that we know so much about. And so by virtue of you being you as providers that look like you, that share lived experiences, you inspire trust. And I think of the girl that I was and my sister was and how amazing it would have been. And what could have been if we really had individuals who were able to help us that inspired that trust. I was spared somewhat, but my sister, decades after numerous hospitalizations, medication, etc., still grapples with suicidal thoughts as she tries to mother her 3 children. So ultimately, this work chose me. It pulled my voice out of my body, provided me healing, and the greatest gift, which is to give back. And this is what we all are doing, what you all are doing. And so I thank you very much for this opportunity. You are the change makers, you are the difference. Continue to do this work. Again, Taylor, just thank you so much for providing this venue. I spent the bulk of my career in behavioral health, and I was one of the few BIPOC women leaders in this space. And I'm so grateful that after a decade plus later, to see so many of you in this forum. Let's continue to work together. Let's continue to network, to amplify our voices, to inspire that trust. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Back over to you, Taylor. I don't have anything to say to Miss Mavis except I got my arms around you. Thank you so much for sharing. You have touched everybody's heart. Thank you. Taylor, thank you.
Immensely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mavis, for your beautiful words and sharing your story with us. Outstanding. It's an honor to have met all of you. Through the process, I have really met some outstanding people. I feel energized. I feel enriched by you. I feel motivated to do better. So thank you so very much. I'd like to thank you all and our special guests, the New England MHTTC, in particular, Maria Strepo-Toro and Ingrid Paget, for their dedication and support. SAMHSA guests and the other half of the SAMHSA New England team, Tim Jean, HHS colleagues for your participation. I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. I want to thank our artists, our local Black artists, for providing the slide decoration that you see. The slide art was provided by Karen Daly. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining us.